Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss. It is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @Pless. Here are the key tenets to my approach for trading. This is the basis of my approach for trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, and certainly in the large cap tech stocks that I follow and trade, the Mag 7 stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and ES is a derivative of SPX. So when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index, and NQ is a derivative of NDX. So when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as the directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow and Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow and Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. And for example, setups in the SP 500 could be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel and Discord, as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. And hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hello, Katinga. Welcome. Glad you're here as well. And hello, everyone else. Welcome. Glad you're here as well. All right, here's my agenda for today, Friday, May 3rd. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, events, and earnings to wrap up the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. Then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's get started with news items, economic data, events, and earnings. So first of all, Apple did report earnings after the market closed yesterday. And I will take a look at Apple when I get to setup review. Also, Coinbase report earnings after the market closed, and I'll cover Coinbase as well. All right, so let's move on to economic data. There were two key data releases today. First of all, the jobs report came out 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. and the jobs report showed jobs less than expected and also less than the previous number. And we'll take a look at the market interpretation in just a minute. And also the employment rate increased to 3.9%, also greater than expected, greater than previous. And then the ISM services PMI data came out at 10 a.m. and that was less than expected and also less than the previous number and also less than 50, indicating contraction. All right, so in the case of the jobs report, this is the S&P 500 futures in Bookmap, and the reaction to the jobs report was very bullish, huge move higher in the S&P 500 futures. There was also a reaction to the services PMI data. Note that there was pretty significant latency with rhythmic data earlier today. So this reaction at 10 a.m. showed about 6 minutes later. So there was significant latency in rhythmic data, and that was not Bookmap, that was rhythmic. And there were some other comments in Discord this morning about that. So other traders were experiencing the same thing. So this 10 a.m. reaction to the data is shown here about 6 minutes later. So bullish reaction to the jobs report and a bearish reaction to the services PMI data at 10 a.m. All right, so that is the data to wrap up this week. And again, Apple, Coinbase reported earnings. We'll take a look at that, those stocks in just a few minutes. All right, so let's move on to positional analysis now. So again, this is the S&P 500 futures in Bookmap, and I'm going to start with the S&P 500. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I do want to take a look at a higher time frame. I'm going to go to the SPX, the underlying index. I'm going to start with a one-day chart. This is a one-day chart in Thinkorswim for SPX. This rally began last year, October 30th, lasted for 5 months. Correction began April 1st. So let's take a look at that on a 1-hour chart. This is a 30-day 1-hour chart for SPX and Thinkorswim. Here's the top of that green line, that green trend line. And the correction began April 1st. And note the rally attempt began the Monday after April expiration. April expiration 4/19. Rally attempt began on the Monday after. So pretty choppy action for SPX during this rally attempt, but generally making higher lows. All right, let's take a look at levels on this chart. So first of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. There have been several questions about this recently. I just take this from, actually I have an indicator, but you could take this from the options chain for SPX. So to get the weekly expected move for next week, you would just take the closing price and then take the expected move for next Friday and add it and subtract it to the closing price for SPX. And that would yield a pretty similar number. All right, so those levels remain in place for the entire week. SPX is trading within that range today. All right, and it did trade below the lower weekly expected move earlier this week. The dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move. That's also based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. That is updated every day, and I post both those levels in Discord every evening the day before. So SPX is trading above the upper daily expected move. All right, the other levels on this chart, these dark red lines, are Spotgamma levels. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. These are proprietary Spotgamma levels. They're provided to Spotgamma subscribers, and this is showing where gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. Again, the key daily levels. First of all, the put wall is at 5,000. That's the strike with the largest net negative gamma. That's also the absolute gamma strike. That's a strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. So that's where most of the gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. And above that is the volatility trigger. The label is hidden there behind the 0 gamma level. The volatility trigger is at 5,075. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, like SPX is trading now, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And then finally, the call wall is at 5,200. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. Note there were no shifts in levels for the SPX for the last 2 days. All right, so these levels have remained in place for today and yesterday. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX by taking a look at a 1-minute chart. We'll go to SPX 1-minute chart. Pretty choppy price action today. And price is trading above the upper daily expected move most of the day. Also above the volatility trigger in the 0 gamma level. The call wall up above, still away. There is some room to run up to 5,200, the call wall. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. So again, latency earlier today, but the levels are correct. So in Bookmap, I have my own cloud notes, so I can show SPX levels. Here's the 5,100. That's a large gamma 2 level. That was noted as resistance in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note, and really acting as support today. Also, I have SPY levels on this chart. Here's the SPY 512 level, acting as resistance earlier today. Let me zoom out on this chart. So yesterday, the 507 level, that was the 0 gamma level, yesterday acted as resistance. Pretty quiet overnight session. Price remained at that level, and that was the launching point, that 507 level, for the move up. And here's the 509 call wall. That level did move down from yesterday. It was at 520 yesterday. So the S&P 500 is trading up above the 509 call wall. All right, so that's the S&P 500 today. The only shift in levels, again, the SPY call wall shifted lower down to 509. And we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. All right, let's move on to NASDAQ now. Oh, just one thing. There is a difference in price between ES and SPX for those of you who have not seen this before. So SPX 5100. That offset earlier today was about 26 points. It's still just slightly above 26. That's what I'm using. So I'm showing SPX 5100 at ES 5126. And I do post those index relationships that I'm using every day in Discord. All right, so let's move on to NASDAQ now. This is the NQ Futures and Bookmap. And I want to take a quick look at the underlying index charts. This is QQQ, 1 minute chart. Regular trading hours, the dark shaded portion on the right. Not really any gamma levels in play. And still a pretty narrow range, just like the S&P 500 here for QQQ. QQQ trading above the volatility trigger at 430. That level did move higher from yesterday. It was 426 yesterday. And that was the only shift in levels for the NASDAQ, for QQQ and NDX. I'm going to skip over the NDX chart. There's really nothing to see here. So you can see here in my cloud notes, there are no white levels, which would be the Spotgamma levels. In the current price range, there are no Spotgamma levels in play. NQ is trading above its upper daily expected move. All right, again, setups in a few minutes. All right, let me check for questions. Hello, Floyd's Garage. Welcome. Glad you're here. Floyd's Garage asks, is the blue line VWAP? And I assume you are referring to this line right here, and yes, it is. That is VWAP. I use a blue line, a light blue line on all my charts for VWAP. So Lars, that's on same on the S&P 500. Blue line, that is VWAP. All right, Lars asked how to calculate the gamma levels. So the gamma levels that I use come from Spotgamma, spotgamma.com, and they're available to Spotgamma subscribers. All right, so that is, again, a subscription-based service that I use. All right, so Lars, Floyd's Garage again points out VWAP here acting as support for NASDAQ. All right, so thank you, Floyd's Garage. All right, so let's wrap up our view of our positional analysis by taking a quick look at Gamma Notional. This is market maker's position on the Gamma curve at the beginning of the day. Gamma Notional. And I'm looking at the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. Note these numbers, with the exception of NDX, which is not significant, are negative, indicating in a negative gamma environment, traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, hence the negative gamma. They have to trade in the direction of price. That's at the beginning of the day. Now, we saw that both the S&P 500 and NASDAQ were trading above volatility triggers in more of a positive gamma environment. If this rally continues, these numbers will likely shift for the SPX, could very well shift to positive for Monday, but certainly all will become less negative, and they're all less negative than yesterday. All right, let's move on to some setups now. There are a lot of good stock setups, and then we can take a look at the live market. All right, so what I want to take a look at, again, so the levels, the gamma notional levels that we were just looking at, that's all based on static data. Spotgamma takes open interest data, applies their algorithms to that data, and they come up with the levels that I was showing on my charts, as well as, again, the gamma notional. Now let's move on to execution, move to real-time data. So what I want to do is start with what options traders are doing today. Take a look at what options traders are doing. So this is the HIRO signal, HIRO, Hedging Impact Real-Time Options. So what this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. There are two lines on this chart. The white line is showing price for SPX. The purple line is the HIRO signal. And a falling HIRO signal indicates traders are taking negative delta positions. That means they are buying puts and or selling calls. A rising HIRO line indicates traders are taking positive delta options positions. They are buying calls and or selling puts. All right, there are two signals that we can take a look at for the S&P 500. This is the traditional signal that's been available for some time, this combined signal of SPX, SPY, and ES futures. There's a new signal. This has been out for about a week. Let me try that again. Okay. All right, so this is the S&P equities. So what this signal is doing is combining options trades and market maker hedging activity for all S&P 500 underlying, so 500 stocks. It's been around for about a week. It's providing a very good signal. So let's start with the S&P 500, and then we'll take a look at the S&P 500, the traditional signal. We'll take a look at both. All right, so let's start with the traditional signal. All right, so let's zoom in on the morning. So some chop in the morning. First of all, this set up a long. We'll focus on this long right here. Then there was also a short. Actually, let's zoom in a little bit more, get a little bit more clarity on this. All right, so long at 9:40. HIRO signal here really flattened out. Price moved lower about 10 o'clock and then started to reverse higher right around 10. All right, so let's take a look at that same thing in the SB equities. Zoom in. So a little bit more clarity, I think, for this short especially. So long right around 9:40, 9:38. HIRO signal shifts lower, then moves higher. It took a while for price to respond. So price didn't really respond until about 11:10. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. And there were better setups, especially given the latency here in the data. So we're going to have to ignore the time a little bit. So here's the long that was right around 9:40. Looking at the chart and Bookmap here, The volume dots are showing market buy minus sell. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. Drop down. Then right around 9:40, aggressive buyers come in. That's shown by the green volume dots. Price moves up. Again, this was at 10 a.m. And then a sharp reversal after the 10 a.m. data. And remember, traders were taking negative delta positions at that point. All right, let's zoom out. So again, a little bit difficult to read because of the latency this morning. And then here's this, the current reversal higher. Somewhere between 5,100 and the 509 call wall. Aggressive buyers starting to come in as traders were taking positive delta positions. You can see the very clear shift in volume dots. Magenta volume dots on the way down. Sell stop orders fueling that move lower. That's shown by that small red dot. Cumulative volume delta starts to rise. And also the yellow line in the subchart indicating that buy stop orders were fueling that move higher. So very clear shift in cumulative volume delta, green volume dots. And that move up seems to be slowing down a little bit, but the S&P 500 is still grinding up. Looks like trying to get back to this 512 level that more or less acted as resistance earlier today, above that level, but did act as resistance. All right, let's move on to NASDAQ now. And let's go back to Hero, see what options traders are doing. All right, so for the NASDAQ, all right, let me check for questions. All right, Floyd's Garage asks VWAP changes on time frame. What time frame should we look at? All right, so that's up to you. Let's go back to Bookmap. I'm going to right click, go to VWAP settings, and here are my session start settings. So I have I open Bookmap right around somewhere between 6:30 and 6:45 every morning. That's Eastern time. Rhythmic provides 1 hour of backfill data, and then I have also subscribed to DX Feed backfill data, and I load enough data to go back to the opening for the futures, which was yesterday afternoon at 6 p.m., and that's when my VWAP starts. You can change that to anything that you want, so it's entirely up to you. I know Bruce, who's the director of education at Bookmap, I think he starts his VWAP at the cash open at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. This is how I have mine set, and it works fine for me. All right, DK asks, on the heat map where it's red and orange, are those buyers or sellers? So let's go back to ES. Let me darken up the heat map. All right, so what the heat map is showing in Bookmap is a history of the limit orders in the order book. And the darker the shading, that indicates there are more orders there. And these are limit passive orders. So below price, these are limit buy orders. Above price, these are limit sell orders. So that's at 51.65. And again, the darker the shading indicates there are more orders at that level. All right, so again, below price, those are limit buy orders. Above price, those are limit sell orders. All right, let's go back to NASDAQ. Take a look at Hero, see what options traders are doing. All right, for NASDAQ, there are also two signals. Oops. Not sure what happened there. Okay. All right, for the NASDAQ, there are also two signals. First of all, here's the, let me zoom out. The NASDAQ signal, which is similar to this traditional S&P 500. This is the combined signal of NDX and QQQ. And then this MAG 7 signal, this has been around for, I think, probably a couple of months now. It typically provides a better signal for the NASDAQ. And what this signal is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla. So this is what I've been using for the NASDAQ 100. Typically, there's some days where this NASDAQ signal works better, but almost always the MAG 7 signal works better. So just like the S&P 500, long, short, then long, took some time, right around 11 and 10 again, for the price to respond. And so another short, another long chop, and then right around 11:10 the current move began. So let's go take a look at Bookmap, go to NASDAQ, zoom in on this. Again, you're going to have to ignore the time a little bit because of the latency issue. So we'll go through this pretty quickly. Here's the 940 long. Again, pretty easy read here in Bookmap. Magenta volume dots on the way down, green volume dots on the way up. This sweep up into, in this case, NQ 18,050. Then a move lower. Aggressive sellers on the way down, magenta volume dots. Another move higher, move lower, and then here's the 11:10. Let's move on over. All right, so there's level right here, kind of a double bottom at QQQ 433, NQ 17,900, also VWAP, as Floyd's Garage has pointed out. And price moves higher as traders were taking positive delta positions in the MAG 7 stocks. Let's zoom out. All right, so pretty choppy in the morning. 11:10, quick move up to 18,000, NQ 18,000, and then chop around that level. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at some stocks. Much more interesting today. All right, so here's Apple, and I loaded data from yesterday. So here's Apple yesterday. This is not very characteristic of Apple. So this is the reaction to their earnings report. Move up from 173 all the way up to 185. So big move higher, big gap up for Apple. Again, not very characteristic of Apple. All right, so let's zoom in just on today now. So pretty choppy price action today. Let's see what options traders are doing. Notice all the green volume dots here. A lot of aggressive buyers. All right, let's go take a look at what options traders are doing in Apple now. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to switch to puts and calls. So we can see for the Mag 7 stocks that call buyers are really driving price action. That's shown by this rising orange line. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. So it looks like traders are buying calls. They're also selling puts. That's shown by the positive notional value there, but call buyers really driving today. All right, so let's move on to Apple. And I'm just going to stick with this view of calls and puts separated. So again, orange line is showing calls, blue line showing puts. So for Apple, they are buying calls. They're also buying puts. You can tell by the negative notional value there, but call buyers really driving price. One thing that Spotgamma has pointed out recently is all these flow alerts. If they appear a number of flow alerts appear in a short period of time, that is indicative of chop. They also pointed out yesterday in the PM Founders Note that a close series of flow alerts and then one further out can indicate a breakout. I'm not sure if this qualifies here, but Apple did break out series of flow alerts. Then maybe these two were separate from the first three. Let's zoom in on this. So multiple flow alerts. And these really being the ones actually here. These three probably being the most important. But anyway, traders start buying calls. We're buying calls starting right around before, maybe 9:42. Took the foot off the gas, started moving higher again. All right, so let's go back to Bookmap now. So we know price reversed finally around 10:03. So a final push down to, let's see, somewhere below 183. Traders start aggressively buying calls. Price moves higher, not a big move higher, but there are also aggressive buyers. You can tell again by all the green volume dots. There are very few magenta volume dots and rising cumulative volume delta. All right, let me check for questions. Hello, Katinga. Katinga asks, is it possible to integrate the modified SPY levels you have on ES Bookmap into classic chart TOTS platform? I'm not quite sure what you mean. Let's let's take a look at let's go to SPX. Actually, we can, well, let's just go to SPX. All right, so this chart, I'm using, let me edit studies. All right, so this is what Spotgamma provides to Spotgamma subscribers for the Thinkorswim platform. And this is updated every day. You have to go through a manual process of deleting the old one, or just what I do, I open this just like I just did. I edit it. I delete everything in here. I just scroll down, delete everything, paste in the new script for today. It takes less than a minute. So this is showing all the Spotgamma levels for SPX, QQQ, NDX, IWM, RUT, SPY, and ES. So if you wanted to add additional levels to this, you could just draw them on the line on the chart manually or modify the script. So this is available to Spotgamma subscribers. Now for Bookmap, looks like I need to add more levels to Apple here. So Bookmap, what I do in ES, I want to combine SPX and SPY levels onto my ES chart, and Spotgamma does provide SPX levels in a Cloud Notes for subscribers. I prefer to use my own so I can combine SPX and SPY. So I use this Price Lines add-on, and then here's my, I have a spreadsheet for that, a CSV file, and this is, it does require some manual work, so I update these levels every day. They're my SPY levels, and I get that from the Spotgamma website. There's the SPY levels. And then the SPX levels that I'm showing on the chart. All right, so that takes a few minutes in the morning, and that's how I update that information. And once I put these levels on the chart, if I want to change these, sometimes this ES to SPX relationship changes during the day. Let's see. Well, for some reason, I did not change that today. But for SPY, here's how I show that. So I have just these numbers out to the side. So that's the I column. That's I-41. And then this is the number that I post in Discord. So I just drag that down, and then the Price Lines does the rest. All right, so it's pretty easy once I get the levels of this chart. All right, so that's what I do with Thinkorswim and with Bookmap. All right, let's move on. So we looked at Apple, big move up, kind of chop today. Let's move on to Coinbase. Coinbase also reported earnings after the close yesterday. And let's see what options traders are doing in Coinbase. Call buyers in Apple and call sellers in Coinbase. Zoom in just a bit. Looks like a flow alert came in. You can barely see it. Well, that disappeared. Anyway, there's a flow alert that came in. It looks like right at the open. You can't even see the text for it. Traders selling calls. And Coinbase moves lower. They were also selling puts. That's shown by the rising blue line. Positive notion of value. But it looks like the call sellers are in control today. Let's go back to Bookmap. So move lower. This line right here is Bitcoin futures. So this is the correlation tracker showing Bitcoin futures in Bookmap. So again, Coinbase moving lower, making lower highs as traders sell calls. All right, let's move on. All right, so the next stock I want to take a look at is Meta. So those are the two that reported earnings, the two that I follow that reported earnings. Let's take a look at Meta. Actually, the next one I want to take a look at is Google. And I'm going to go back to Hero. Let's Let's go to Google. All right, one thing I want to show you, and I've pointed out this before, is this hero signal. This is underneath, this is the stock screener. This is my watch list underneath the hero signal here, and you can rank these columns. So what I've done is I've ranked this hero signal column by, in this case, strongest to weakest. And all you have to do is click on the column title to change from weakest to highest to no change. All right, so what this is showing is it compares the hero signal to the last 30 days and to the last 5 days. So here for the SP 500 and Microsoft just below that, it is showing this dot here indicating that the hero signal today is the strongest that it has been in the last 30 days. That's the entire width of the signal, and then the last 5 days, this colored portion. So this is showing the signal for the SP 500 is the strongest that it has been in the last 5 days and the last 30 days. And the same for Microsoft. So I can click on Microsoft here, and you can see that call buyers and put sellers definitely driving the price higher in Microsoft. And then I can scroll down to the bottom of this list. You can see Google here toward the bottom of the list. And earlier today, that hero signal was all the way to the left. All right, so let's zoom back in on this. So earlier today, traders were selling calls shown by the falling orange line, and they started buying puts starting just after 10 a.m. So in that case, the blue line, orange line, were moving in the same direction. It's a very powerful directional indicator. And the clue, just looking at that ranking of hero signal, was that it was moving lower based on the weak hero signal. So that's another way to look for stocks, either in the entire base of stocks available with hero or your watch list. All right, so let's go back to Bookmap. Google now recovering as aggressive buyers have come in, shown by the rising cumulative volume delta. You can see all the green volume dots, as well as traders starting to buy calls and sell puts. All right, let's move on. The next one is Meta. Note for Meta, 450 is the call wall. So let's see what options traders have been doing in Meta. All right, so here's the 450 call wall. Price did breach that level. And as price moved above the call wall, the slope of this call line started to decrease. And then finally, right around 1045, price was above that level. Up, looks like almost maybe 454. We'll take a look in just a minute. Call buyers took their foot off the gas, and then Meta finally started to consolidate. So they are buying calls. They're also selling puts. Earlier today, blue line, orange line moving in the same direction. Very powerful directional indicator. So, of course, a couple of ways to play this is catch the long move up. First thing in the morning, let's zoom in on this. Zoom in just a little bit. Buy Meta on the way up on pullbacks. Here price went all the way to 453, maybe above that level. Then as traders started taking their foot off the gas, remember about 1045, Meta consolidating now. All right, so a couple of ways to play this. Again, long setup, or let's take a look at something in Thinkorswim. Let's go to Meta. Now I just put this on quickly in the morning. I'll go to the Analyze statement. And this is a put vertical spread that expires today. This is the width of this is 2.5 points. When I put this on earlier today, I was able to get it for about half the price of the width, which is what you would look for. All right, so the advantage of a put spread is that you're selling higher implied volatility. That's at 35%. That may be difficult to see. Well, that's changing all the time. Earlier today, just a minute ago, that was 35% and 29%. But that's typical of buying a put spread. You could also sell a call spread. So what this is showing is, as long as, now in this case, I put on this 452.5. That's when I did this. This is just a simulated trade. So as long as price stays, if it stays below 452.5 at the close, you'll make full profit. And if it stays below 450, you'll make some profit. All right, so that's another way to play this typical pattern. Aggressive call buyers in the morning, take the foot off the gas mid-morning. And if I'd been watching this, spending more time watching this, I probably could have gotten a little bit higher call spread. All right, let's move on. Microsoft. Again, we saw call buyers driving price higher. Flow alert early in the morning. This is one of the strongest hero signals. Call buyers and put sellers. Call buyers definitely driving price today. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to Microsoft. There's a lot of great stock setups here today. And I'll go back. I've been trading more stocks recently. I find these, the hero signal for stocks, much easier to read and interpret than the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. All right, so call buyers driving price higher in Microsoft. Deep pullback entries here to VWAP. As traders continue to buy calls and sell puts. All right, let's go back to Hero. One other stock I want to take a look at is NVIDIA. Call buyers, definitely driving price action in NVIDIA. They're also selling puts, shown by the rising blue line, positive notional value. Note this number. This is typically, NVIDIA may have the largest, typically the largest notional value of any stock, certainly any stock that I follow. Call buyers definitely driving price up and down today. A couple of flow alerts coming in. Note these flow alerts are shown on the call line, but that's not really associated just with calls. It's with calls and puts. All right, so note the hero signal was moving up and down today. Quick move up, move down, move up, move down. Look familiar? It should. The NASDAQ was doing the same thing. And then finally, resolution higher, right around 11:10, 11:15. All right, so let's go take a look at Bookmap now. All right, what I've been doing in NVIDIA is trying some indicators. So let me show you what I'm looking at on this chart. And let's zoom in to from the cash open. All right, so I really like the price action in NVIDIA. So let's take a look at what these indicators are. So first of all, on the subchart, I've actually got two of these. Note I have muted these. These do make a noise. All right, so I've clicked the mute button. This is price change. That's what I'm showing in the subchart here. And this is showing extremes for price change with red on the bottom, green on the top. And this makes more sense when you zoom in. And zoomed out at this level, it doesn't make as much sense. So that is market pulse. So that's this indicator here. There are a number of algorithms that you can use. So this is what I'm looking at now, price change. I also have volume pressure imbalance. But right now in the subchart, I'm showing price change. All right, so some of the other indicators that I'm looking at are the absorption and sweeps indicators. All right, so the sweeps indicators, these are showing aggressive buyers. Let me tone down the volume dots just a little bit. Make this a little bit easier. All right, so the sweeps are showing those are aggressive buyers or aggressive sellers. And I'm showing those with green, buy sweep, buy sweep, buy sweep. On the move higher, buy sweep. And this is a sell sweep. Also show a sell sweep there. All right, so again, those are aggressive buyers and sellers. And then the magenta dot here, magenta color, that's showing the limit orders, the passive orders. So in that case, those are limit sell orders. And you can just see the liquidity and the heat map there. So that makes sense. Same here. Limit sell orders. So those are passive buyer sellers in that case, absorbing the aggressive buyers, consuming the buy sweep up. All right, so the point of all this is to help to identify the pullbacks for either long or short entry. And I've tried the volume pressure imbalance, the VPI, for a while. I'm trying price change today. It looks like it's doing a pretty good job. So let's say, of course, here NVIDIA is making a series of higher lows. So I'm looking at deep pullbacks for long entry. So this price change here, price change indicator, is helping to indicate the deeper pullbacks for long entries, along with my trend line. So note how these deep pullbacks pretty much align with the red in this price change here. So it just gives you another visual trigger for a deeper pullback for a higher probability entry, pullback entry. All right, I've got not much time left, maybe a minute. Does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? So Katinga asks, is that the market pulse indicator? Yes. That is the market pulse indicator. Again, there are a number of algorithms. I think these are being updated on a regular basis. So I've tried volume pressure imbalance. It's good, as well as price change. It looks like, just from looking at price change today, I like that a little better. So that's what I'm using right now. I have both shown here. When you turn on one of these indicators, these floating badges appear, showing you the extremes. So there's the lower extreme. If this line moves down below the lower extreme, you would see it there. If on the circle, if it moves above the upper extreme, that would be right there. And that would coincide with the red and green on the subchart. And this is available, I believe that this is included with the MBO bundle, which includes the stops and icebergs, and also as a separate add-on in the Bookmap marketplace. I'm not certain on that. You can check. You can check in the Bookmap marketplace if you don't have access to it, or check with support at Bookmap. All right, but I do have the MBO bundle, and I believe it is included with that. All right, Floyd's Garage wants to look at PG, Procter & Gamble, I guess. I don't have that in Bookmap. We can take a look at Hero, see if there's anything in Hero for PG. All right, so not much going on here in PG. Very thin options market. Remember, for NVIDIA, the call number was over 800 million. Here it is minus 2 million for PG. And it looks like traders are selling puts, selling calls, but not a lot of options influence for PG. All right, Floyd's Garage also wants to look at Costco. Whoops. So still not a lot of influence here for options for Costco. Pretty choppy signal. Note all the flow alerts indicating chop. Let's go back to NVIDIA. So again, compare the numbers. This is why I like to trade the stocks that I do, these large cap tech stocks, especially NVIDIA. That's that notional value, 1.39 billion, and a very strong correlation between options trades, market maker hedging activity, and price action in NVIDIA. All right, everyone, my time is up. I want to thank you very much for watching. You're welcome. Welcome, Floyd's Garage. And you're welcome, Katinga. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.